addicted to love. Hold on tight to your dream. This boy is electric.
Electric van, is this? No, it's a Ford dealership with quite a few MachEs lined up, but unfortunately they've designed the placement of their chargers right next to their sales and support area for their van section. So lots of Ford Transits moving in and out and using the charging spaces. That looks like it's going to be a common problem here at this Ford dealership. And I noticed as well at a couple of Ford dealerships they seem to be installing EO chargers by default, so not pod point like other dealerships. So today's video, it's all about my experience with the MachE. So I've been on a test drive quite a while ago, I'm afraid. It's taken me quite a while to get this update to you. And I've been quite excited about this test drive and about the MachE. I'm a Ford person. I like Ford cars. I've driven lots of them, from RS Mexicos to Capri 3 litres to Orions, Escorts, Fiestas. My last car before I went electric was a Fiesta 1.5 turbo diesel Z-Tech S. They're really good. The chassis is good, the handling's good, the engines are normally very good. They're just great cars, and one of the things I've always liked about them is the seats, the seating. You always used to get Recaro seats in the sporty models. So the Fords in the UK, I love them, so I've really been looking forward to testing this MachE and seeing if this electric car could be my next car. I mean, if it's got some Mustang DNA in it, it's got some performance, and it's got anything of what I've liked about my Fords in the past, this really could be the car for me. I love the interiors of Fords as well. So one of the first things to do is have a play with the media system, the giant tablet screen that's in front of you. And to be honest, I was quite impressed. It's big, it's clear, it's easy to use, it's fast and responsive. It is just really good. And the internal sat-nav system, very good as well. Lots of detail on the screen. And like I said, it's just usability and the speed of use was very good. Better quality than many others, especially the BMW system in my Mini. The rotary dial for volume, it's absolutely brilliant, but they've just missed a trick. It would have been so much better if they'd have made it multi-purpose, so that when you're looking at the air conditioning systems, then if it could have done fan speed and temperature as well and become multi-purpose, it would have been more intuitive. It would have been much better. Touchscreen buttons for adjusting the temperature and fan speed just doesn't really work. Physical buttons work better, and they had the opportunity to integrate it here. Bit of a missed trick. Nice little design feature using a button to open the rear doors. I like it, even though you do have to use the actual door itself to open. It's a nice design feature. One of the most striking design features in the interior is this panel in the dash in the front, a nice textured feel to it. And then I suddenly realise it's not part of the dash, it's actually a speaker. So it's almost like a soundbar that goes the entire width of the car, but is integrated so it's part of the dash. Really like it, it's a nice design feature. But having said that, for an expensive premium sound system, I found it quite poor. The sound all seemed to be focused on this front soundbar, and even though I could move the sound back with the fader onto the rear speakers, most of the sound and all the presence of the sound was all from the front, and unless you turned the bass up to its maximum, there didn't seem to be very much depth, so I was a little disappointed with the audio in this car. I was just watching Matt Watson's review on CarWow of the Kia EV6 and how he referred to the interior space of the Mach-E, bigger than the Kia EV6. More headroom in the back, he says. And yet, I found this really, really odd. This is the elephant in the room for me. This is a big SUV, lots of space inside. And yet, let me play this video again for you and just see what happened. And then I can explain it. Oh, good gracious, you're kidding. You're kidding. You are kidding. Getting into the rear seats isn't as easy as you think, and there isn't a lot of space. Well, this looks a little bit odd because Susan doesn't have any problems whatsoever.
Very spacious.
So if we sit Susan on the edge of the seat, we can see that headspace is just about right for her. She doesn't hit the roofline. With me sitting in the same position, you can clearly see that my head does not fit where the roofline is, so I have to bend forward quite a lot, compressing myself to get in without banging my head. And if I didn't already know this, that's why I cracked my head on the roofline getting in. It's really tight. It's okay once you're in, but getting in, definitely an issue. Now I'm only 5'10", but I've got short legs and a taller body. I'm sure there's a knack to it and I'd get used to it, but you do have to compress yourself and put your head in where the roofline is at the highest point. But it's really surprising. This is a big SUV car. Shouldn't be this difficult. And yet, other aspects of this car really are big. I noticed when the door was open on the car, it was miles away for me to actually lean out, grab hold of the handle and close the door. This is a big SUV. Now I've got to say, Susan and I disagreed on the quality of the interior, asking a straight up question, is the Mach-E interior better or worse than what we had in the Kona Electric in the Premium SE? I thought the Kona was better. Susan thought the Mach-E was better. But it was very, very clear that what we thought was better quality had different aspects to it. We were thinking different things. She was thinking about the scratchy hard plastics in the Kona versus the softer materials on the dash of the Mach-E. I was thinking of the seat quality, where in the Mach-E, the foam on the seats, you can nip it between your fingers and thumb completely so your fingers and thumb touch. It is so thin. The seats aren't very supportive. There's no side support to them. The leather itself, or the leatherette, feels really thin. Doesn't feel as good quality, and I didn't like the red striping, just looked a bit tacky. So to me, the quality of the Hyundai Kona seemed to be higher, but again, it's very, very subjective. Susan thought the Mach-E felt higher quality. And the centre console plastic is really hard, and it points towards you in quite a narrow piece of plastic, so if you rest your leg against it, it's not very comfortable at all. So no, poor quality from a couple of aspects. But let's not sound too negative about this car, because it's a big SUV and yet it is quite striking. It's a beautiful looking car. There are some lovely lines and it is so not a Euro box, and I really, really like that about this car. I hope you agree. I think it's a handsome looking car, a muscular looking car too. So, on to the really important bit. How did the car drive? Well, frankly, this is where it gets really, really disappointing, because it is not the car for me. In my opinion, it drove awfully. I was expecting so much more. I was expecting some sportiness, and it's not. It's just a big SUV, really soft, really comfortable. So the seats are soft, the tyre walls are really high, the car sits really high, it corners really soft and almost wallows. There's not a lot of feel to the steering wheel and the connection to the wheels. There really isn't any sportiness, and because of that, the seats as well being so soft with so little side support, if you do take corners too quick, you end up sliding almost out of the seats. It is not what I hoped for and what I would really like in a car. Something that has some driving dynamics, but it is comfortable. So on a motorway cruiser, so doing long distances, I'm sure it's fine. Driving at 30 or 40 miles an hour, that was fine as well. It was really comfortable. But taking it at speed. So on this country road, I started to accelerate to see what it was like. I get to throw the Mini around on some of these corners, and I'm keeping to the speed limits, doing between 50 and 60 miles an hour. But as I take a corner and crest the brow of the hill, the car goes really, really light and doesn't feel particularly safe. It almost feels as though there's too much weight too high up. And yet with the batteries, the weight distribution should be really low, but it just doesn't feel it. The suspension's too soft, there's too much give. It doesn't like to be pushed hard. Now, I'm not a professional driver, so maybe if you're a better skilled driver, you can work around that softness and enjoy the car. But for me, getting out of a Mini and driving into this, it was just chalk and cheese. There was no pleasure in the driving engagement, driving quicker. So country lanes, twisty roads, no fun whatsoever for me. This car is better suited to American highways, and I think that's what sums it up. It's an American car designed for American roads. It is not tweaked and improved for Britain, for the UK's twisty country roads. So for me, it's an absolute no, because it doesn't deliver on what I really, really want from a Ford. If you look at other Fords like the Focus and the Fiesta STs, those cars are really suited to the UK. This is nothing like it on the interior or how it drives at all. And that is really sad. Sad because I wanted it. I wanted it to be so much better. I wanted it to be like a Ford ST in its assertiveness and aggressiveness and performance. And talking performance, yeah, I tested the 0 to 60 and yeah, it's quicker than the Mini, but it just doesn't feel it. Because of the size and the weight, the Mini actually feels nimbler and faster, even though this MachE is a little faster to 60, because this is the bigger battery, four-wheel drive option. Just didn't feel it at all. So for me, it's an absolute no. There was not enough pleasure in driving it. But if you like softer sprung cars and you like comfort and you travel on motorways a lot, this may well suit you. Right, let's get to the party piece of this car then. Susan, what do you reckon to this then, sir? We've got drive modes, we're in whisper mode, now we're going to put it in untamed mode so it's full speed, but we have propulsion sound, so forget the speed. What do you reckon to the sound? So we'll wait for this car.
Only have to just check it. It's got its own little roar.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah.
And in active mode, the sound's active, so you get a little bit of it. But not a lot.
It's just a gimmick.
And in whisper it turns it off. Yeah, I think it's a gimmick too. It doesn't add any pleasure to the drive at all. And one of the lasting memories of the car are these pink LEDs. What do they do? The dealer didn't have a clue. And it reminds me of this scene from Blake 7.
Well, for 100 million credits, you'd expect something a little more spectacular than that.
And then there's the design of the doors and how they fit. Just look at the amount of panel that overhangs the door card. It's incredibly long. Reminds me more of a van door. It just doesn't seem right. So although there's some lovely design features to this car, there's also some very, very odd ones. So I think this car will divide opinions. It's a nice refreshing shape for a large crossover SUV. It's yet another electric car crossover SUV, but it does look nice. It's just not for me. It's not a lot of fun to drive. Efficiency wise, well, it wasn't too bad for such a really large car. I managed 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour in the really best conditions, trying really hard, and when I wasn't particularly trying for economy, I was averaging about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Despite my not liking the car, I hope there's some unbiased information there for you. So read between the lines. Go for a test drive yourself and see if you like the Ford MachE yourself. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Take care. See you again soon. Bye for now.